So we are here for episode number 6. Pretty crazy.
Hard to believe, yeah.
Halfway through the year.
Has it been 6 months?
It has. I mean, we did our first one in January.
Wow.
Yeah. So this will be our June episode, and we've been sticking with the theme of Karpos Life, the fruits. What are you producing in your life? This episode, we're going to basically focus on who you hang around with. And I really want us to think about, just as, I don't know if you guys have planted trees or even bushes or different things. I have done some. I'm not a very good, what do you call it? Green thumb. I'm not. I'm terrible.
Killed plenty in my life.
Yes. And if you think about it, though, it is all dependent upon the soil and where they are planted. And some trees are more resilient than others, I've found. And interestingly enough, at an old house that we had here in Texas, we planted 3 different types of trees in the same place, and only one of them was able to take root. And so it's the soil and it's what is surrounding and what you're able to utilize. But the people around us, those are capable of shaping us as well. So that's what I wanted us to focus on. I've got some segments that we'll step through, questions we'll ask, and want your guys' input and thoughts. Because a lot of times the things too that I don't think we realize are those influences are more critical than we think they are. I've had influences in my life that are good and those that are bad. And sometimes when they were good, I wanted to tune them out because I knew they were right, and I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do, which was wrong at that point in my life. And then you have others that were wrong that maybe didn't even encourage you, but they didn't stop you. So they just kind of let you go along and do those things. But if you think about the whole tree mentality, a healthy tree doesn't need just healthy roots. It needs to be planted and in a healthy environment as well. And so, like today's episode, it's just going to be called The Orchard Around You, and thinking about relationships that can make or break you. So
side note, I have planted trees throughout my life.
Yeah.
So took them, get the little bucket at Lowe's and plant them and have to tie them down and watch them grow over the time. So I have done that.
Yeah. That's interesting because I did a Bible study, and there was a gentleman that was talking about, he used to work in a big tree farm or some area. And he said that sometimes they would just cut down the weaker trees so that the wind could blow the stronger trees to make them even stronger. And I thought that was an interesting parallel to life. Not that God is cutting people down in your life, but removing those people sometimes. So that's interesting. What kind of trees did you plant?
Primarily it was Bradford pears. So it's like, new houses, right? And so it would just be an empty lot. And I was too cheap to pay for, landscaping. So I was like, I can do it. So a couple of live oaks, 4 or 5 Bradford pears. Bradford pears are pretty resilient. It's hard to kill them.
Yeah.
But the key is what you're right. Cause I remember, you have to dig out all the clay and all the mess and buy the bags of the good dirt, a lot of fertilizer, and kind of really baby them, for a good year or two until they are strong enough to be on their own.
Yeah. And there's so many really good analogies with this as well. Cause like our neighbor, he dug down 18 inches and got rid of all the nasty soil, and then had really good soil brought in. And I thought, man, that's kind of like life, where you're digging out and getting rid of all the really bad, and then you're putting the good in. So just thinking about it then, who has been the biggest positive influence or influences in your guys' lives?
I think my dad was in my life for sure. He was just, it seemed like he had just always made the right choice. I mean, I know he wasn't perfect, obviously, but just looking back throughout my life, and he was always a rock, and always someone that you could look to be like, all right, what's in these two decisions? Ask for advice, whatever it was. I could count on my dad.
Yeah,
I know not everybody has that ability, but I was able to have that.
That's awesome.
I would say the same for me. My dad has always just been...
I thought his dad.
Your dad's been amazing. No, I would say the same thing. My dad, is... And again, like you say, right, not everyone has had that, but just grateful that was something I had. He became... And it was for us, for my dad and I, the relationship that we have is even our careers were so similar, right? So we had so many things in common that we were able to kind of socialize and just discuss so many things, whether it be spiritual, whether it be family, and then even career. So there was just so many things that we had in common, and great influence. And the other thing I would say is in the later part of life, I would have to put Veronica in that too, right? Just marrying a good woman is so important, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking that too. You'll get credit now when our wives are listening to this, like, oh, you're just copying Steven on this. But I was just sitting here thinking is like, yeah, as far as like just making me a better person, yeah, would be Betsy for sure.
Because there's a completely different relationship, right? Like your dad or your parents are always going to be a mirror. But I mean, I think you said it earlier, right? You're not always going to listen to other people, right? When they give you the feedback that is needed, or sometimes the encouragement that is needed. But for whatever reason, that is one sounding board that is so important for us as men, right? Is our wives. And we value what they say. We listen to what they say. We take to heart what they say. And so marrying a good woman with a good instinct in that regard is invaluable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up with a kind of tumultuous relationship with my dad, which is interesting because as I got older, we really kind of things ironed out, and I think he realized that there were some things that he may have done incorrectly as a father, and then areas that I was just a rebellious kid. And in my late 20s, things more or less ironed out, but I would definitely agree that my relationship with Victoria has been that she's been instrumental in the change in my life. Not because she made me, but because she made me realize,
helps you see,
yes, that there are areas that I needed to change or get better at, and things like that. And I think when I look at relationships, I look at the people that are faithful to you, that are consistently there for you, that are willing to help you realize the things that you do wrong and grow. And I think for me, I saw my dad as a younger person. I saw him make a lot of mistakes where I was like, well, he's angry, or I don't think he's treating my mom right, or just these different things, or all the mistakes that he made. And it's so easy for us as young people to think we know so much more than our parents, and we see all the mistakes they make and point those out. But for me, as I got older, I was like, well, he did the best he could. And I think that's the difference. And if I think about my dad, my brother and I would laugh all the time. My dad would be like, well, you got to do things in moderation. Yeah, Dad, we get it. Now I tell my kids all the time, do things in moderation. Like, you don't have to have every single thing now. So I realized, he was actually pretty smart. Did he do things wrong? Sure, absolutely. Everybody does. So that's interesting.
But isn't that that's such a great point, right? Oftentimes it's very easy to be critical of someone's walk until you're now in those same shoes.
Yep.
And I know I realize that now as a dad as well, right? We can all look at our parents in some way and say, oh, they had this flaw and that flaw. But I agree with what you said. Every parent is just trying to do the best that they can, right? With the kind of kids that they're raising, with the resources that they have at the time. But you truly only learn that empathy once you're in that. You find, and I don't know if it's happened to you, but find yourself in the exact same situation as maybe you were in as a kid, but now as a dad.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, I get this.
Yeah.
I get it now.
It's the most important thing you will ever do, raising a
100%.
child with there's no manual. There's no,
Yeah.
You're looking at, well, that's how they did it, or that's how she did it, and I remember my parents did this or that, and you're just kind of like piecing it together. I mean, they give you a baby that's 3 days old, and you
ya.
go home, and they're like, "See you later.
Yeah, see you later. Yeah.
We're going to show you how to connect your car seat in." And that's about it.
Yeah, we'll see you in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the baby better be alive.
That was actually the first realization that I had, was that exact moment was, here you go, here's the car seat. Because you know how it is in the hospital for the first couple of days. It's like, you have the nurses checking
yeah.
in on
Yes.
you every 20 minutes and, checking temperatures and vitals and all this other stuff. And you're like, okay, yeah, this is actually going quite well. And then they're like, see ya. You're
Yeah.
like, well, hang
And you
on,
go
you're
home.
not coming with us. But the realization for me was, I'm now actually legally obligated to keep something alive for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
That to me was like, oh, this is huge responsibility.
Yeah.
Of course, I wanted to keep him alive, right? So there's that. But
Right.
just the magnitude of the responsibility was huge.
Yeah.
So fun.
Well, and thinking about the influences are the biggest ones, I wrote something down here that some relationships water your roots and others quietly drain them. And I think thinking about the friends or family even can do that to you guys. So can you think of someone who's helped shape your character without realizing it?
Without realizing it on the recipient end, or
Yes,
on the...
on their end, that they were helping you shape your character and they didn't even realize that they were.
I think that's more common than we think, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think every interaction, every encounter ultimately leads to some reaction from us as people.
Yeah.
I can't think of a specific example, but just thematically, I can say for sure, yeah, there's people that have come through my life, or just in moments where have taught me something about myself, either through their action or through saying a subtle word that have caused me to think. But yeah, I think that's self-awareness 101,
Yeah.
right? I think
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's a lot of people who go through life with so little self-awareness. But I think if you do have that self-awareness, that where you actually sit up and take notice of everything that's happening around you, and you can't do that perfectly, I think you'll find those nuggets everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think influence is caught, it's not taught. And a lot of times, I don't want to give people advice unless they ask for it. But I also realize sometimes that I'm influencing people around me, whether I know it or not, by the way that I react to different situations at work or at home. And the most influential people watching you are your children. They see everything that you do, and they are just like little sponges.
They see everything that you do, and they also, at least at my kid's age, I have a 4-year-old and an 8-year-old, they also deem everything you do to be appropriate.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, you said that word, so I can say that word. Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
you've given me license to do this now, right? And
Yes.
that's the tricky part is, to your point, right? They see and observe and absorb everything that you do, but then they also translate that into, oh, this is how I need to behave. And so to have to retroactively come back and say, no, you can't do that, or you shouldn't say that, even though I said it, that's where parenting becomes
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Harder.
Well, and your children see how you handle pressure, how you handle disappointment, how you handle, success and failure and all of those kind of things. And others around you see that. And I always tell people that are on my team or that I work with, I'm like, these are the things you want to say. And you say those over here in a closed circle, maybe to me, but you don't say them to these people, because these people, you handle it a different way. And you say, these are take the high road. You always have to take the high road. And sometimes it seems unfair, but in the end, I feel that God will work things out for you. The situation will work things out for you. And a lot of times it doesn't make any sense to sort of retaliate or say what you really want to say. I mean, sometimes, yeah, you got to get some things off your mind, off your chest and all of that. And it's good to have healthy conflict. but sometimes you just gotta be quiet.
Yeah, that's just a tip for, life success. I always will tell a lot of our new hires, find someone who becomes your your best friend at work that you can just vent to, right? But when you're in front of the manager, and the VP and all those things, that's not the appropriate place to do that. You smile and everything's great, but have those people in your life where you can vent to, so that you can react accordingly in front of the people you need to, so that you can be successful.
Yeah.
And not just get fired immediately.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the thing is iron sharpens iron, but not without some sort of friction. So you're going to have those type of interactions, and you can either grow from them or you can shrink. And I figure, why not grow? Why retreat? Why not just push forward? So why do relationships influence us so deeply?
Because we're relational beings, right? I mean,
Yep.
we aren't meant to live life by ourselves.
Yep.
I just think of the story of Adam and Eve, right? Adam was by himself for a little while, and he started figuring out, wait a second, there's all these couples out here. Where's my where's my match?
Yeah.
So we're meant to want relationships with people.
Yeah. And who you surround yourself with, the relationships that you have, they define what is normal to you. And interestingly enough, when I met Victoria, my family was we grew up going to church and all of those kind of things. And we did, we did dinners with each other on Friday nights and Saturday breakfast and Sunday breakfast and all of that kind of stuff. But it was kind of and I don't want this to come across this way that I grew up in some terrible home. There was some tumultuous moments and events, just like I'm sure every family has had.
Yeah.
But when I met Victoria and then I met her family, I was like, this is a different community. These people really get along. I don't ever remember we've been together 26 years now. Her family's gone. Her mom and dad are, my mom and dad are. But in that time, I don't remember ever any kind of drama. At my house, whether it was aunts and uncles or my family or whatever, you could pretty much count on there's going to be some drama, whether it was Thanksgiving or whatever. Somebody might get upset. Everybody in my house was pretty emotional, just like I am. And you take things to this whole other level. But the whole point in that is what you surround yourself with is what you think is normal. And so when you put yourself into other situations or around other people that are positive influences, like you guys or others, you realize, so this is what it could be like. And instead of just accepting the circumstances with which you are in, you have to realize there could actually be something more appealing in life. I don't know what you guys think of that.
I want to go back to your original question, because I think it's actually a profound question and deserves a lot of thought, which is why do relationships impact us as humans? And I think it's a deep question. The way I think about it is relationships are maybe the one thing in our life that involves both contributing personally to something, but then also an expectation that you get something back.
Yes.
It's a two-way street, right? We've all been in relationships where traffic is only flowing in one direction, and that is not a healthy relationship. And because there is that transfer of something between two beings, and both are evaluating the situation as, okay, is this a healthy situation?
Yeah.
I think that makes it very, very unique. There's nothing like a interpersonal human-to-human relationship because of that reason, right?
Yes.
You could say that you can have more, surface-level relationships with pets and things of that nature, but when you think about it like that, then you have to ask yourself the question, okay, well, what then is being transferred between two humans? Is that thing healthy? Is it unhealthy? What am I getting out of this relationship? Is it helping me? Is it growing me? Is it refreshing me? What am I giving to the other person in the relationship? Is it helping them? Is it growing them? Is it refreshing them? Or is it an unhealthy? And so I think that there's a lot of, that's why I love the question, Chris. I need to think more about it. But I think, just to summarize, I think it's the one thing where there is just this connection between two things that has to be an almost perfect balance in order for that relationship to work. And that's what makes marriage so hard, but also so rewarding.
Right.
Right? Because you're now in this situation where you're trying to make sure that two human beings are getting and growing and building together while also being very different as individuals. I don't know how you guys would respond to that, but that's just kind of what flows through my mind as I think about that question.
Reciprocal. It's got to be a reciprocal relationship. Now, I will say Victoria challenges me because I ask or think about relationships from a value add perspective. And she's like, not everybody needs to bring value to your life. I say that a lot because I focus on value to the, I think on value to the marketplace. And I challenge people that I work with or people that work with me or whatever. And I say, what value do you bring to an employer or a relationship or whatever? Because if you're just draining people, I need more, I want this, you did that, and it's always me, then eventually you're going to find yourself alone because nobody will want to be around you. And I think sometimes I have had individuals in my life that I've taken a step back and thought, whenever I talk to them, it's me helping them solve problems in their lives, basically becoming a counselor. That's not a relationship. That's just you providing guidance to somebody. And if you're young, I get it. And when I say that, at my age, if you're in your 20s or even 30s and I can help you see something, that's one thing. If you're my age and I'm trying to tell you these things and it's just going in one ear and out the other, I think at some point you got to realize I need to cut this relationship off. And I've talked about it before. If you're the sum total of the 5 people you hang around with the most. And if those people aren't helping you to realize, hey, you need to change, you need to grow or whatever, you're eventually, you're going to forget what's possible and you're just going to plateau and you're going to stay there wallowing in your misery and all of that.
And likewise, if you are in that group of 6 people and you are the only one that's just taking from those other 5 people, but you're not in turn helping sharpen those other 5 people.
Yeah.
Those other 5 people will very quickly realize there is an imbalance in that relationship as well. And so you got to look for the value that you can give to a relationship as much as take out of a relationship.
Right. Well, and you think about the whole idea of God and the concept. Victoria and I wonder sometimes, or we think about it, and we're like, well, what is God doing? Because, and we may have mentioned it in passing on here, but God doesn't want a bunch of automatons. He wants a family. And a family is a community. And a community is people helping each other get better, grow, see, contributing, and sometimes needing help. Just like we were talking about earlier. I don't like to ask for help. I think 2 things. I feel like it makes me weak, and I feel like I'm imposing or bothering you. And I know sometimes people will be like, hey, can you give me a hand with this? I'll be like, yeah, sure, I don't mind. In the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, I got so much going on. But yeah, I'll give you a hand. And you want to help. But I think that's one of the reasons that relationships are so critical is we have this innate godly characteristic of wanting to build a family. I don't know what you think.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. And I was thinking on what Stephen was saying, on the relationship. And again, the analogy of husband and wife's easy, but I think it's with any relationship. When a relationship is going well, it's balanced in that, maybe there's one person who needs something of the other person so they're draining, but then that'll switch and the other person at some point will need something and then that person's in position. So it's like a balance of, providing and then taking. The unhealthy relationships, like we talked about, are just like, it's just always taking, right? Where no matter what you're doing, you leave that, whether it's a phone conversation or in person, and you just feel drained. and you feel that way every time, right?
Yeah.
That's an unhealthy, unbalanced relationship. And so that was thinking about what Stephen said, and then the point of, like you were saying, with God and family, and God is always willing to give to us and to help us, and in return he asks us to give to him. So that's a perfectly balanced relationship as well.
Yeah.
And just to kind of build on what you guys said, right? I mean, the taking isn't always transactional, right? It's not like, I need money, or I need your time, or I need your focus, whatever. Sometimes the taking can be so unintentional, right? It could just be, sitting and talking to this person, they just talk about themselves, or it could be something else where that the taking is unintentional and subtle, where to your point, after a 30-minute conversation with this person, I just feel like I have no energy.
Yeah.
Right. And so the taking isn't always asking for stuff. And so I think we need to be mindful of, hey, even in our interactions with people, are we helping inject back in to the relationship as opposed to just kind of sucking out of it, right? Whatever that looks like. And what the interesting thing is, we go back to the golden rule. This is precisely what the premise of the golden rule is. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Keep that bidirectional, relationship going in a way that is focused on giving, and then you will get back what you need.
Right.
But you've got to start with and that's actually where I think you can, and we as people, where we can build those 5, closest people is, okay, well, how can I contribute to this group in a focused, intentional way, knowing that this is what I can potentially get out of it. And I think that always needs to be the start, right? The start always needs to be, okay, what can I contribute? How can I give? How can I add? As opposed to what can I take?
Yeah.
You just set the relationship off on a much better footing in that regard.
So thinking about relationships and keeping with that idea and everything, have you ever found yourself picking up habits or phrases or attitudes or mindset of people you hang around with?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, probably still happens even as an adult, but I remember, and I see it now, my son's 16, and I know I did it. It's like, he'll come from school and he'll be saying something that he wasn't saying, like, at the beginning of the week. And like, where'd you get that from?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's what the guys are saying or whatever. And I remember that as a kid. I remember the same thing. My dad, he was like, okay, what does that mean? Like, where'd that come from? And it was just, at the time, I didn't even know what it meant, but that's what everybody was saying. So you just pick stuff up. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I mean, that's why it's so important. The people you hang out with, whether you intentionally do it or it just happens, you are going to pick up what the people around you are thinking, feeling, doing.
Yeah. And even in, like, we've all seen this, right? It's not just the words that they say or the music that they listen to or the thoughts that they have. It's their finer subtleties too, right? Like, I've seen it, I've done it my whole life, right? Where it might also be the way things are said and the tone of voice, or even just a walk, or, just
mannerisms.
Mannerisms. Yeah, that's actually the word I was looking for. It's like that is also so fascinating to me, where, we absorb these things and we mirror the things from the people around us that go so much more, subconscious than what we even intentionally or consciously think.
Yeah, we think we're immune to these things, but we're not. And then slowly we absorb more than we realize. And I even would find myself, Victoria would say, you're a different person when you're around this person or that person. She's like, I just see it. I'm like, whatever, crazy. And I'm like, maybe I am. Yeah. Even just like what I think is funny or what we talk about. And it's so weird that, I see it. And I don't think I realize I do now, but sometimes, and I would ask or challenge those listening to this episode, that sometimes you need to take a step back and see if you really do that, because I know I did and have and do still today, because it's like this weird mindset. And I have a really good friend that even today, and he's a great guy, but I'm a different person when I'm around him. than I am with, say, maybe you or something like that. I'm just goofier, and I go back to the silly guy that I was when he and I were friends when we were kids and everything. Super awesome guy, very motivating, very challenged. I've mentioned him before. He would be the kind of guy that'd be like, you're not going to be happy with yourself making that decision. I'd be like, yeah, whatever, you don't know.
Is that okay? Is it okay to have those people in our lives where we can be a little bit different?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I do.
Yeah.
Because, I think sometimes, as I've moved throughout my career or my life, I've always thought that I should be somebody else. Like I should be more quiet, or I should be more reserved, and this and that. And I would look at other people around me and think, oh, I need to be more like that. That is not the case. You need to be the best version of you. And you can be different with other people. Like my cousin and I, when we hang out, he knows me in a way that nobody else does. And we have fun and we have a good time. It's not the same way that if I hung out with you, I mean, maybe we go to a movie or something like that. Sure, get it. Fist bump and the day's good.
Yeah.
But I do think, yes, you can be different around different people. You're just more comfortable. You've known them longer.
I agree.
There's just different things about them.
And I think that's the point, though, right? Is to monitor what version of ourselves come out around what people. And this is where, this is what we spoke about early on in this podcast, right? Was, okay, have that North Star of, well, what are the acceptable standards and principles and the fruits that we want to bear in our life? And then, contrast or overlay that against the people that we're hanging out with. And, okay, what fruits are being born with this group of people versus this group of people versus this group of people? And even though it might be okay, or it might be, stylistically, when I hang out with this person, I act different to this person. The fruits are the same, and they're not bad. They're still good. I think that's fine.
Yes, absolutely. Right? I mean, and it doesn't mean that we have to look at everybody and judge them and say, I do think you need to discern. Am I different in an okay way, or am I different in a negative way? Do I drink too much, or do I cuss, or do I, and all these things are just fine with that person, then maybe that's not
it's the discernment.
You got to be discerning in those situations. But
if you have a friend, they're like, oh man, every time we hang out, we just get drunk. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, then that's
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Then versus, okay.
Bottle just popped into my hand.
It just magically happened. Those are the ones you have to step back and be like, okay, what relationships do I have that are benefiting me versus pulling me down?
Yeah. But it goes back to the first show that we did together, right? Which is what are the fruits that we should aspire to, and being mindful and intentional about those fruits. And I think once people as individuals, and I see this a lot, right? And I've been there, and in some cases are there, where kind of wandering through life, not really sure what I'm trying to accomplish, what kind of standard or fruits I'm trying to bear. If you wander through life like that, then you will always wander into a bad friend group, a bad situation. You've always got to have that sounding board, that way to kind of just calibrate yourself to what is right.
Yeah.
So that brings up a good question then. Do you think most people choose relationships intentionally, or they just happen by default?
That is a great question. That is a good question. I think both, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the initial, the initial relationship is usually built on a need, right? If it's the first day of kindergarten and you walk in and it's just like, okay, he's sitting next to me, he's gonna be my friend because I need a friend, right? That's just kind of happened, but it's still intentional. So I feel like there can be a combination of those.
Yeah.
About those things, but more on the intentional, because at some point you have to decide, okay, I want to continue to figure this person out, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a buddy, whether it's a girl you want to date, whatever it is, you make an intentional decision of like, I'm going to talk to this person again for this reason.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about some of my past relationships, like my freshman year of high school. There was another dude that was just as crazy as me. He was actually I think he got voted class clown. I was second behind him.
Runner-up class clown.
Yeah.
That's a
Which
good or bad
I
thing.
realized I don't think that's a bad thing now.
Yeah.
But man, he was hilarious, but he was just crazy too. And you put me and him together. I remember one time we drove my Chevy Chevette into this embankment, which was a lady's yard. And she comes running out and it was rainy. And I peeled out and it just tore the whole yard up. And so then she called the police. They got my license tag. They come to my house. Jake never had any problems. Nothing happened to him. But I got in big trouble with, my dad and everything. And my dad's like, you don't need to hang around with people like that because he's just going to lead you down a bad path. And, I still remained friends with him from time to time, and we would talk here and there. And he did always made me laugh. Always had a funny time with him. But that's a situation where it's just not good, not a good person. And I give that story because it was sort of intentional wanting to hang out with him because I was like, man, we are so much alike when it comes to humor. I mean, we find humor in everything, making fun of teachers, making fun of people.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know if you guys had any influences that became relationships or friendships that you're like,
Too many.
Yeah. I think we all do.
So here's a follow-up question to your question. Can you still have relationships with people knowing that you are not the best version of yourself around that person? Or is it too risky? Is that too risky? Right? You may love the person. You may have a good time around the person.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that, okay, this can very quickly devolve into a version of myself I don't like. So is it ever wise or advisable to say, okay, well, I still love this person. I still want to hang around with this person. But I'm going to self-regulate so that I can keep myself in the box that I want to be in.
Yeah.
Is that foolish?
I think it can be risky, but I think it's based on personality. I mean, and it depends on,
Depends on what it is.
Yes.
Like what is it that becomes less of your best self?
Yeah.
If that makes sense, right?
I mean, I think I know where you're going, but I'll just throw it out there. If you have a friend and you've done drugs together or you've drank together or you partied together, all of these things, and you know that if you got together, they would be willing to just do all that stuff still, I think that's too big of a risk.
Right.
But I think if it's a person that you grew up with and you've known a long time and maybe you can have them over to dinner and have a drink and hang out and just talk about old times, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But I know with Victoria and I, she wants me to be more aware. And it's not just her, it's me realizing I need to be more aware. Like her friends growing up were all like, what do you call those? The Olympic decathlon, like education. They were all, they were challenging each other to get better grades and all of that. My friends were challenging me to see how mad I could make a teacher or something like that. But I do think, for me personally, you have to know yourself. I think that's it. And I think you need to know, yeah, I'm a different person than I was. But I also think if you realize that, some of the friends that you hung around with, you're like, it's just, there's nothing in common there anymore.
So if you could make it more binary, then it depends. Would you advise your kids to, if you knew, like imagine one of your kids was like, hey, I know I'm this version of myself with this person, but I know I can control myself and I'll be fine. Would your advice be, okay, know thyself, or would your advice be stay away?
My advice would be stay away. Just because I'm like, why tempt yourself? Yeah. That's really what it comes down to me. Why tempt yourself? What are you really gaining by it?
Yeah.
And again, it doesn't mean that every relationship has to mean you're gaining something. I'm not saying that, but if you're risking something and you potentially could do damage to yourself or whatever, your relationship that you're in with your wife or or whatever the case may be, I think, what's the point?
I like the word risk. I think that's a good word that you just used, because not every interaction or friendship is going to produce like necessarily a fruit, right? Like I've got he's my best friend, you know, and when we moved to Houston, started going to, you know, new church, and we became buddies, and was my best friend, my best man, and you know, we'll still talk. He doesn't go to church anymore, so we live basically completely opposite lives. He never got married. He's, you know, but when we do talk or get together, it's just as Betsy would be like, it's just dumb, right? We just talk about dumb old things and, you know, WWE matches or WWF then, you know, things
Yes.
you saw, and it's just. But so there's no, like, I don't leave that hour or two feeling like, man, I've just become a better person, or I've, you know, solved a world problem. But it's just a good time, right?
Yeah.
And it just, you know, silliness for the sake of that. But there's no risk in that. There's no pathway into sin, right?
Right.
In that relationship. And so as soon as you said risk to me, that stands out. Like if there is an opportunity of risk, you know, we just call it sin because of this relationship, because I've been there before with this person. I know what happens.
Yes.
Man, that's when you have to like really have a serious conversation with yourself of like, okay, I can't be in this relationship anymore.
Yeah. And I think about it like this. If you have a friend and you grew up with them and you used to go to clubs together, used to, you know, be party together and all of that, I wouldn't go if I saw a friend and they're like, hey, you want to go get a beer and let's go to Club XYZ? I'd be like, no, but you can come over here to my house. We can have a drink. We can hang out. We can reminisce about old days. That's fun and that's fine. And it's within a controlled environment and you're really limiting the risk. But when you expose yourself to things that potentially get you into situations that, you know, can get out of control, I don't think that's a good idea. But, you know, going to class reunions or seeing old friends, I still talk with some guys that I went to high school with and stuff like that, here and there, sparingly, but some of them I'm still close connections with, and I talk to them, but each one is a little bit different and all of that. But I will say this, the funny, goofy stuff that you do with your buddies, your wife's never going to understand. But it's the same thing. I never understand why my wife talks about the stuff that she does with women. I'm like, what? This doesn't even make any sense. Who cares what shoes that lady was wearing? But that's what, you know, people talk about different things. Because, man, I would love to sit and talk with you about WWF. That was great times. We were just talking about Miss Elizabeth the other day.
Not everything has to be like uber productive.
Right,
Yes.
right. That's maybe that's what. Yeah.
Sometimes
That is
what you need at the time is just a distraction, right?
Yes.
Get your mind off of the things. And
Like I love just like Dumb and Dumber, you know, those kind of movies, just because I mean, you're just gonna be brain dead for a couple hours, but
Right.
sometimes that's what you need.
Yes.
And basically like, okay, there's, you know, I can do better things with my time. Well, probably, but like, you know,
Yes.
it's just dumb time, and sometimes that's okay.
Absolutely. That's what I think about a lot is during the week, I am so on, just mentally focused, sometimes working 3 a.m. till 7 o'clock at night. I just want to sit down and watch, I don't know, Ip Man or something like that, where somebody just kicks some people around and Victoria's like, yeah, no, I don't want to watch this. I'm going to go
Do something productive.
do something productive. Yeah.
here's a question. Whenever you see a relationship where you have maybe two individuals and one individual has, you know, for lack of a better term, maybe higher virtues and the other one has lower virtues, why is it that oftentimes it's the individual with higher virtues that'll be dragged down, not the person with lower virtues dragged up?
Well, I personally think it's much easier to relax your morals and yourself than it is to pull yourself up
or to pull someone else
or
up.
to pull someone else up.
And I think that plays
think
into
about
your
it.
risk, right? The risk is it's going to be way easier for someone to drag me down than it is going to be for me to try and pull him or her up to where.
That is exactly it. I mean, think about rescuing a life. Somebody's trying to get out of a hole. Would it be easier to take their arms and help them scale down the wall and slowly lower them? Or would it be harder to pull them up to your environment and get them out of wherever they are? So I think that's why it's just hard to pull someone upward, especially if they don't want to be pulled up.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think
because they're going to stay pat
Yes.
on where they want to be. And then you're going to have to meet them where they are
Yes.
in order for that relationship to work.
And there's been so many times in my life that I've met people that I'm like, why don't you want more? You should want more. You're smart. You're intelligent. You've got so much. Some people are just like,
I had a good friend like that.
Yeah.
Smart, likable, I mean, good looking, everything. But he just went to the bottle.
Yeah.
And that was his life, right? And now he's just lost. I feel very sad for him.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes, I mean, we have to realize and remember that we can't change other people. They have to want to change themselves. And so in relationships, you can only do so much. You can only say, hey, this isn't good for you. Yeah. They have to realize this isn't good for them.
So build it. So go ahead, man.
I was going to say, the other piece of this is, we're on our 6th episode. I think everything we've talked about in these 6 episodes, it's all difficult things to do. Mm-hmm. Like we said here, and like, oh, we do this, do that. None of this is easy, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're just looking at it from a secular, like, I want to be successful at business, I want to, make money. That's not easy. Like, I mean, there's a focus you have to have. There's sacrifices you have to make to do that. We look at most of the things we're talking about. We look from a moral, God-centered perspective. Those things aren't easy. Those things aren't easy to do either. And so, most people, if given the opportunity, will take an easier way.
Yes.
And so, again, in your relationships, you have to figure that one out too, right? It's like, does this person, especially if you're, single, you're dating or thinking about marriage, does this person align with, like, what fruits do I want to have in my life? Mm-hmm. Does that person have that same passion, those same objectives, so that we can walk that path together and not just always be looking behind or trying to pull someone, because that just doesn't work.
Yeah. But
it's hard. I guess in the point, I mean, it's hard.
Yep. Absolutely.
That is actually a perfect segue to what I was going to say, kind of just closing the loop on if you have 2 individuals in a relationship and one's on the virtual scale lower than the other, oftentimes the one higher will get dragged down, unless, like you said, the one who's lower wants to be built up. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the encouragement for young people, right? Is go and seek those people who you perceive to be successful, high morals, high integrity. And maybe you're not exactly where they are yet, but if you are willing to put in that hard work, and if you know and you see who they are, the kind of individuals that they are, and you know it's going to be hard work to get to them, and you're willing to put that in, that is a perfect friend group for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I put together personally a blueprint, what I call a blueprint for life. These are the things that I've done. It's 7 principles that I've followed that helped really drastically change my life since about 2012 or 2013. And I thought back, I reflected, and I put it together. I shared it with my son and his fiance. And I'm just like, these are the things that I would do. You reflect, you set goals, you push yourself, all of that. And you can apply it to any area you want, whether it's religion, whether it's your relationships, your job, your career and things like that. But I think something to think about is the people that you hang around with, depending on the situation. Sometimes, like you both said, sometimes the situation could just be, I'm going to have a beer or two with this buddy that I used to hang around with in a good, safe space and just have a fun time. Just talk about old video games or riding our bikes or whatever it may be. But when you're thinking about being intentional in your relationships, the people you surround yourself with should have similar habits. They should be loyal, encouraging. Basically, they're willing to not just tell you what you want to hear. They're willing to challenge you to be a better person. And they care about who you're becoming. I get that from you guys. Like I get that you guys would care about who I'm becoming, not just, oh yeah, go be whoever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. But what do you guys think are the traits of a healthy friendship?
Man, somebody who wants the best for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, that's just like the closest friends I have, and I think my wife. They want the best for me, and they want to be along that ride and want to help with that as well. Mm-hmm. And again, it's it works in cycle. And the same thing for me. It's like I want the best for them, and so you're just kind of there for each other as you're going along this journey of life.
Yeah.
I know it sounds kind of simple, really, but I mean, that's kind of what I think is just that.
Yeah. I think it's when you leave their presence, you feel more hopeful, more encouraged, more relaxed, more whatever. Not, wow, I actually feel kind of dirty and gross.
I think it's also, a high degree of trust, right? And you kind of said it without saying it, right? But for me, the best friends that I've had are people that I know I can be vulnerable around, and I'm not going to get judged for it. In fact, I'm going to get encouraged. I'm going to, there's going to be a follow-up, right? There's going to be, to your point, people that want the best for you. And so there's so many people out there that'll parade themselves as your friend, but as soon as the chips are down, they'll judge you, kick you to the curb.
Right.
That's not a friend, right? And so someone who I can be vulnerable with, and it still adds to the value of the friendship, right? And I've seen this a lot, right? Oftentimes when people are vulnerable with one another in a good relationship, it will strengthen that relationship. It will make that relationship much stronger, much higher degree of trust. In a bad relationship, it becomes an unhealthy thing, right? Being vulnerable. And I think as Christians, right, that is something that I don't know if we do very well, right? Because we're always worried in the back of my mind that, if I open up about this or this thing that happened in the past or this thing that I'm struggling with, that I'll get judged and it will sour the relationship.
Yeah.
And I often have felt that, I wish the church community was a little bit more, open to having more vulnerable conversations, right? Being more real. Because there's so many people who are dealing with things that could get help from each other.
Yeah.
But in fear of, either retribution or judgment, they try and, navigate these things themselves.
Yeah.
And ultimately for me, that is what, iron sharpening iron is, right? That's what a true friendship is to your point, you go into a conversation and you leave sharp. You leave better. Right? You don't feel beat down and discouraged.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it was that leads into my next question, but it's also a comment thinking about just church and feeling judged and all of that.
Bootlicker.
Have you ever had someone in your life believe in you before you believed in yourself? And the reason I'm asking that as a question, but it's also a comment that is how your church family community should be. They should believe in you more than you believe in yourself so that you're able to open up to them and they can give you a scripture or encouragement, not judgment.
Well, that's Christianity 101, right?
Tell me an area in the Bible where Jesus judged people for a sin they committed or whatever. Now, he discerned and he got mad at the Pharisees or, people like that. But all the people that I see, the woman caught in adultery or the guy that said, I believe, but help me with my unbelief, he didn't chastise them. He believed in them before they believed in themselves.
Well, even just the fact that he walked up to, was it Peter and John? Your fishers are fish. Now come, you'll be fishers of men. Like they were like, what? Well, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
Over here, right? Look what he did with Paul, with Saul. right?
He believed in them before they believed
He's
in
like,
himself.
you can do more here.
So what about you guys? Do you have friends that you feel believe in you more than you believe in yourself sometimes?
It's very situational, right?
Yeah. I mean, what my initial instinct is, I feel like I've always been, maybe it's sometimes too much, but I've always been confident in myself. So like, I feel like I've always been.
I know. I know
like,
I can do it.
Yeah, I've always believed in myself.
That's good.
Which sounds, which also humility is something I'm also always trying to work on as well. But I know what you're saying. Mm-hmm. But so I think the answer though is, again, yeah, I mean, because that, to me, that goes along with like surrounding yourself with people that want the best. That includes that as well, right? They're like, you can, I've had friends. Yes, I know it's hard right now, but like you can stick through this. You can make through it. It'll be better.
Yeah.
Just keep the path, mm-hmm. right? So yeah, I'll say definitely on that as well, because I mean, to me that is a friend, right? I mean, somebody who, even when you think, man, I'm pretty down and out right now, they're like, you got this.
Yeah. So that leads to my next question, and we can go back to the other question if you've got a comment on it, but do you have friends who have challenged you in a way you needed it, even though it was uncomfortable?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Same
here.
Best friends. And I think that's a hallmark of a true friend, right?
Yeah. So thinking about best friends though, is a best friend somebody that you meet at a young age and they just have to be there growing up with you? Or do you think you can meet a best friend when you're in your 30s or 40s?
So I have a unique perspective on this, right? Because I upped and moved across the world in my mid-20s. Mm-hmm. So I left, physically left people that I knew my entire life. Like my best friend growing up was a guy I lived next door to. I saw him every single day. He was like my brother. Mm-hmm. Barely talk to the guy now. I can think of 2 or 3 other people, best friends, right? Where, a couple in the church, where every time there was a school vacation or a long weekend, I was either spending it at his house or he was spending it at my house. Best friends. I mean, I can only imagine what the relationship would have become had we kind of stayed in the same on the same continent, right? In the same country. And then that was very difficult for me, right? Coming over to a new country and having to kind of pick up from scratch on relationships with people. And I would say the answer to your question, the simple answer to your question is yes, absolutely. I think you can connect with people immediately. Mm-hmm. And if you have those shared values and, kind of that shared focused and that shared, goal system, yeah, you can connect with people. At least I can.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the person I would consider one of my best friends now, I've only known him for 4 years. And I remember the first time I met him, it was just immediate connection. We got along. And he's just a guy that I know I can be completely real with.
Yeah.
And he will be completely real with me. And I think that's core, right? Where is there sincerity in a relationship, right? Genuine sincerity, where you can be your authentic self in a safe space.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate your comment about me.
I thought he was your best friend.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've kind of thought differently, and some of this is just because, so the company I work for, every year they do a Gallup survey for all the employees just to kind of measure where we are. Yeah. And one of the questions that they ask every year is, do you have a best friend at work? And so whenever I first started, I kind of was like, well, no, my best friends aren't at work, And so, but then I learned what Gallup and what my company means by this is, do you have a best friend at work, right? Someone at work that is that you can go to. And so I think you can have, quote, best friends in different areas of your life.
Sure.
Because I could go to you guys and I could be like, man, this deal, it's struggling. And y'all would be like, oh man, it'll be all right, Matthew. But you really don't understand the details. Whereas, I have a best friend at work where he knows exactly, man, we call each other, we bounce things off, we complain to each other. Sometimes we just talk about life, whatever it is. He's my best bud at work. I don't think I've ever talked to him outside of business hours in my life.
Interesting.
And we would room together. I mean, 24 years. He actually just retired, so he made it 22 years, and we still talk, still now, but just less about work. But it was a situation like we talked for decades during business hours, and then we were our best friends at work. Mm-hmm. So I guess my point is that you can have these relationships in different areas of your life that can help you move forward and succeed. Again, if I was going to say who's my best friend, well, my best friend's my wife, right? Because she knows everything about me. I can talk to her about anything. I trust her implicitly. I know she wants the best for me. She won't hide, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then there's best friends here. I got my childhood best friend, bunch of best friends at church, so
sure.
I think it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
But I think to me, now that I understand this concept, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's beneficial to have these people in every area of your life that become your best friend in that space.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And a very, very good friend, I would consider him one of my best friends now, is a guy that I've known for 20 plus years working together. That's how we became friends. And it bleeds into personal life as well for me. But I think definitely you can develop relationships as you get older with different people because you change as a person and you realize, this is the kind of friend I need now that challenges me. Maybe you have different traits. I would have never thought it would be beneficial or necessary to have a friend who was interested in reading books or material or sharing motivational quotes and things like that. Now that's totally what I'm into. So having people like that in my life is very critical to me now. And so I think personally, yes, you'll always have somebody that, just like my best buddy, unfortunately, and I've mentioned it, passed away a couple of years ago. We grew up together, and I knew him from 8 years old until I was 49 or 50. That's a long relationship. That's really cool. A long time. And we just lived 5 houses down from each other here in Texas even. So that you don't replace that, but you don't need to. You don't have to replace something. You just have that. You said it. You have different spaces and different relationships, but you can have different types of best friends, if you will.
100%. Yeah.
So what's the difference between someone who flatters you and someone who actually loves you? When you think about relationships and friends.
What they want out of it.
Yeah.
I feel like people who are going to flatter you, they want something.
Yeah. It depends what's behind that flattery. Like I like it when my wife flatters me.
Yeah.
And I know, but I know that that's sometimes, mostly sincere. Or I'm having a bad day, and it's like that. That's what's. But if that's what's behind it, if someone is flattering you because they know, hey, this is going to build Chris up, right? He's having a rough day. Let me pay him a nice compliment. I think that's the key, Matthew. Is what is behind the flattery, right? Are they trying to get something out of it for themselves, or they're trying to put something into you?
Are they trying to avoid something that's discomfort? Like some discomfort, or are like there's something that they need to say, but they're just flattering you, and instead they. They really feel a different way.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just a question I thought of.
I don't tell me what you guys think about this, but I don't think you can have a true relationship with someone without boundaries having been set. So I think about every friendship that I've ever had, like in my life as a kid. I grew up in South Africa, so maybe this is different culturally, but all the best friends that I had started with some sort of altercation. And then that was, okay, well, now I kind of know where these boundaries are, and okay, now we kind of understand each other, and now we're best friends, but those boundaries are defined. Those boundaries are present in, marriage, in relationship. There are boundaries in a relationship. Every relationship has to have boundaries, right? And that's what makes a relationship successful, is when the individuals are playing within those boundaries. And when those boundaries are there, it's very, very healthy. But I would also say that a real relationship has experiences moments of those boundaries being pressed upon or tested, and then having to survive that and bring it back, right? I mean, that's, I mean, I maybe I just think, speak for myself here, but every true relationship that I've had, has gone through some sort of test, and then it survives the test and it becomes stronger, and then it goes through another test and stronger and stronger. I don't think a real relationship is one that has never been tested. What do you guys think about that?
Yes.
Yeah,
100%
I agree.
Yeah.
And this isn't a marriage episode, but just I'm thinking of marriage, right? That's the whole. Anytime there's conflict is because a boundary has been pushed, right?
Yeah.
And whatever that boundary was, and if you work through it, then it makes the relationship stronger. Versus, if you never have any conflict, then
Either you don't have boundaries or you just don't care.
Yeah, or it's just superficial.
Yeah, exactly.
I think one other area, though, is we all have blind spots, and nobody
100%.
sees ourselves perfectly. And so sometimes a good friend, like Victoria is one of my best friends. She really is. They help us see pride and fear and areas that emotion and what those may be hiding. And I think being able to have open conversation, that's the critical piece to it, because you are going to have conflict. Like, I don't know, did you guys ever have this as a kid? You played with your friend all the time during the summer, and it's like day in and day out. Sometimes you even spent the night and you just hung out. You played video games till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Then you slept till, in my case, 10 or 11. You went to the park. You played basketball. This was my days during the summer. You played basketball from 11 a.m. till, 6 or 7 p.m. And then video games. And it's just day in and day out. You finally started getting at each other's throat because you just got so annoyed by being around them so much. And you just realized, I need a day or two by myself. They need a day or two away from me and all of that. But I think just having a good relationship with somebody, you are capable, as you should with like your wife, your spouse, whatever, to be able to talk through things like pride and fear. And you have boundaries. Like, I know Victoria sometimes doesn't say exactly what she's thinking because she knows I'll be like, you hurt my feelings.
I need some flattery right now.
Yes, flatter me.
Well, and that made me think that, there's, and I've been thinking about this the whole time we've been talking, is like, all right, how do you end relationships?
Yes.
That, and that maybe we will end up there with some of your
Next.
questions. Because sometimes there's relationships that are there just by convenience. It feels like, but it's just, this great friendship. Like, I remember I think when we moved to Houston, I was in like 5th grade. And so we moved into this apartment complex, and, I met, there was a guy that lived a couple over. His name was Bobby Concepcion. Bobby's listening, shout out. It's been 50 years, 40 something years. But like we were best buds. Like, go eat lunch at his house. We would play baseball in the parking lot, and go to the pool. And then he moved. And I think I went over to his house, and he didn't move that far away, like a mile or two, but he wasn't in the apartment complex anymore. And I think I went over to his house once, and I think maybe he came over and we kind of played, but then we just never saw each other again.
Yeah.
And I have no idea where Bobby Concepcion is. I haven't seen him since he was probably 7th grade.
Great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he became a Major League Baseball player.
he was a cool guy. But in that, that was convenience. We lived in the same place. We were the same age. We liked the same things. And so we became friends. But then it wasn't a true friendship because he moved, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and again, different dynamics, right? It's not like I get in the car and go drive, but sometimes I think we have relationships that feel like these strong bonds, but in reality, it's just this relationship of convenience. And how do we figure out, the difference?
Yeah.
And, and again, how do we end that if it's not leading us to the fruits we want to have in our life?
Yeah, I had a friend similar to that. I mean, we were basically best buddies, hanging out all the time from kindergarten till 8th grade. And then 8th grade to 9th grade summer, we hung out, rode our bikes everywhere, and, all of that. And then 9th grade started, and he started playing sports, and I played sports, but I didn't play on Friday nights and stuff. And I felt like I remember, I'm being revealing here. I remember crying to my mom saying, I don't know what's going on. I call him. He doesn't want to hang out. He's always busy doing other stuff. And I'm like, maybe I'm not cool enough now that we're in high school or whatever. And it really hurt my feelings. And it was basically that way the rest of our lives until I ran into him at 26 years old. And we just picked up right where we were. It was like we were back in 8th grade, 9th grade or whatever. And he ended up being my best man in my wedding and stuff like that. Now, he ultimately wasn't one of the best influences in my life. He was very, very motivated, very driven, retired at the age of, 35, 38 years old, whatever. But he had a lot of struggles. But I think it's just interesting that, you kind of ebb and flow. And so the thing to keep in mind is not every relationship has to have some value add. You can just have people that you talk to and things change as you change, you ebb and flow. And there's no real rhyme or reason other than maybe it's just God knows what you need at that time. You have a good friend. I mean, because Daniel Rodriguez, I knew him my freshman year of high school and super cool guy. We hung out, talked all the time. He moved away and I've never talked to him again. Have no idea where he's at, what he's doing. So I think you can have different relationships. Well, I put not every unhealthy relationship looks obviously destructive as well. So I think that's something we need to think about is not every relationship that we have looks like terrible. And it can happen with guys and girls where you're in a relationship and you think this is the person for me. Slowly, it's just deteriorating you as a man or as a woman. And you're like, why am I putting up with this? Like, why? I don't know what you guys think about that. But
that's a whole episode on its own.
Yeah. You have a tendency, we as humans have a tendency to normalize wrong. And we think,
or to think we can fix it.
That is the key right there.
Right. And I think that's a whole, topic worth, kind of evaluating too.
Yeah.
Is it ever useful going into a relationship thinking, I know that this is a bad person or not up to scratch, but I'm going to fix this individual.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the risk, I think.
And they're like a saying, like when someone shows you who they are, believe it.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think a lot of times and it's what I was just thinking, it seems like, and it can be with anyone, but it seems like, especially with younger people, the feeling is, well, I've put in so much time, right? I've been in this friendship or this relationship for so long. If I just end it, then I've wasted all this time.
Sure.
Right. And so I want to stay in it or I'm going to keep trying to fix it because I'm invested with this. And so being able to have that maturity to say, okay, they've shown me who they are. I can't change someone. Only they can change themselves, and they don't want to change themselves. This is what they want to be. I need to move on because it's not lining up with where I want to be.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it feels fun or it feels comfortable or it's familiar or you feel loyal to them as well. But riddle me this. Can good people be bad influences at certain seasons in their life?
Can good people be bad influences in certain seasons in their life? Mm-hmm. Is the season a good season or a bad season?
It can vary.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's so complex, human relationship and psychology, right? The answer is absolutely yes, right? Because you can have a really good person that does probably any one of our best friends that we hold in high esteem has a bad habit.
Yeah.
And we, if we're not careful, can adopt and can learn that bad habit.
Mm-hmm.
And that bad habit could be speeding, it could be whatever it is, right? So the answer is yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think about myself and I think I'm a good person. I just do dumb things sometimes, and I did. And I think I had put a comment down here that sometimes two people are just not good for each other's growth in certain seasons. Because I am a different man than I was when I was 25. Of course, you should be, because I'm 51 now. But I would be a completely different person around the people that I grew up with now. Why? Because used to, I would want to fit in. I would want to be cool. I would want to, I never in my life, at least I thought, gave in to peer pressure. I never smoked in high school. I never drank, none of that. That wasn't me. And it wasn't because I was, goody two shoes or anything. It's just, that's not who I was. I just wasn't. Fast forward a few more years, Crazy Chris came out and whatever. But at different seasons, there was still a good person there. It's just, who was I around and what did they bring out in me? And then you have to grow as an individual. If I were to put my mindset now back into the 22-year-old Chris or 23, I'd be like, no. Don't talk that way. Don't think that way. Don't do those things. That. So I think, yes, good people can make bad choices.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah.
And all of that.
Good people don't start out good, typically.
Yeah.
It's a learned thing, right?
And the key, a good relationship is when that's going on, if you're making some bad choices, a good relationship is the other person will like call you out on that.
Yeah.
And be like, why are you being a jerk? You know? That's a good relationship.
Yeah.
So what are the signs that a relationship is pulling someone in a wrong direction?
Fruits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everything we've been talking about.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because you can't hide that. You can't hide the fruits. You just can't.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you're talking about planting trees, right? If you don't fertilize them, if you don't water them, you can't hide when it starts wilting.
Right.
Right. You can't go out there and paint it and do all it's wilting because you're not doing what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Same thing in life. I mean, you can't hide the outcome.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I like to look at plants sometimes and you'll see them kind of wilting and you think about the parallel between a plant and us. Sometimes we're just wilting as individuals and we just need someone to encourage us or flatter us or just be there for us.
Pour some water on it.
Yeah. And you watch when you pour it on a plant, you pour water on it. It's almost not instantaneously, but you come back the next day, 24 to 48 hours, and you're like, wow, it looks completely different. And you think about, the Holy Spirit, all of that. Just sometimes you just need that nurturing and you need friends around you that can give you that encouragement and help draw out the good side in you because sometimes we just wilt. So why is negativity so contagious?
It's easy.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like it's really easy to point out other people's weaknesses
because it makes you feel better about yourself.
Right.
And that's the key, right? Someone once said to me today, years ago, what's the easiest way to get ahead in life? Push the others down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a cheap and non-profitable way to do it. But unfortunately, I mean, you look at politics, right? Not to get politics into it, but you look at politics, right? It blows my mind. It baffles me that every single political ad you hear, not one of these guys are talking about what they're good at or what they're going to do. It's all about pushing the other guy down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not as bad as that guy.
Yeah. So therefore I must be good. I mean, it's just too easy, right? It's too easy to dog the other person to make yourself look good than to actually grow those fruits on your own. But that takes time and patience, and it's a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
That is interesting because I think that trains the heart to enjoy someone else's weakness.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Because it makes you feel good.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so easy.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's a really dangerous fruit, actually, I think. And I used to remember even as a kid, even commercials, you never said, Coke never said Pepsi's terrible or whatever. Maybe they did. But I remembered commercials not being able to publicly disparage another product. Now it's just free for all. And, and you're right. No politician that I see talks about even their, hey, I struggled here, or I made a bad vote. There is a tremendous book that everybody should read, The 5 Elements of Effective Thinking. And it's written by two professors, which is, they're very, very intelligent individuals. But they're like, look, we don't want to teach you what to think. We want to teach you how to think. Mm-hmm. And they said, when it comes to politics, you should not go listen to commercials or read the news or whatever. You should go look at the particular candidates' voting histories. What did they vote on? What did they stand for? All of that. And then make your own, draw your own conclusions on that. We don't. I would probably just go to Fox News because I'm not going to go to CNN. And we shape our vision and our mindset by surrounding ourselves with people that think the same. And I'm not saying you expose yourself to things you disagree with or necessarily that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying sometimes we need to take a step back and really figure out how to think. Even in friendships and relationships, take a step back and say, what are the fruits that this person is actually producing in their lives?
And that's a whole other discussion, but I think that it seems like in our culture now, people tend to try to just surround themselves with people that think like they do.
Yes.
And while there's positive in that, but there's also negative, because then who's challenging you, right? I mean, and maybe you're right. Maybe the way you're thinking is right.
Yes.
But you still need someone to challenge you so that you can prove that to yourself. Well, why do I think this?
Right.
Why am I right?
Right.
Versus if I just surround myself with people who are just going to mirror what I'm saying, am I right? Am I wrong? Why do I think this? That to me, that's something culturally happening that's not good.
Yeah, they make compromise feel normal, which I think is dangerous. They're just like, yeah, I mean, it's all right. It's okay. So how do you know when loyalty has become unhealthy in a relationship?
I've never heard those two words used in the same sentence before. Unhealthy loyalty?
No, how do you, I mean, but think about it. It goes back to what you were talking about, how you have relationships and you feel loyal to the person, even though you know it's an unhealthy relationship.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
So say that again then.
So how do you know when loyalty has become unhealthy? So let's say you're just a bad influence. You just never grew up. You struggle. I don't know, whatever the case, but I still feel loyal to you because I've known you forever. And that is one of the biggest struggles I have is I could even be like somebody I don't even know that's most likely trying to finagle something out of me. And I just feel bad for them. So I'm like, sure. Here's $100 or whatever. How do you realize when something you got to quit being loyal? And
I think it depends. I think it's Stephen's original answer for the first question was, again, fruits, right? Like if the relationship is pulling you down, if it is hurting your trajectory where you want to be, right, in whatever area of life, then that's an issue. If you're just, because I have friends, it's like, okay, I know this is going to be a beat down, but like they don't have anyone else. And if I have the ability to help them, like, isn't that, it's kind of my responsibility, right? So if it's that situation where it's not like they're not pulling you down into the wrong lifestyle or hurt, but it's just, this is going to be a beat down because they just never grew up, but I'm not going to just leave them alone. To me, those are different situations. And then there's a responsibility that we have as Christians to not just leave someone behind or not help when we can, versus, okay, they are just trying to lead me down a way of life that I can't go and I don't want to. We need to separate this relationship. Yeah,
that's biblical. 1 Corinthians 15:33, do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character. Yeah.
Well, I think it comes down to talking about loyalty, right? You can only be loyal to so many things at the same time. And so if you are loyal to one relationship that thus, as a result, renders you disloyal to another relationship, that's when you know.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's the old adage, right? You cannot serve two masters.
Yeah.
And so to Matthew's point, right? If you're in a relationship and the relationship, you're loyal to the relationship, and in so doing, it's not taking you down a path where you become disloyal to another relationship or to your standards or to your ethics or things of that nature. That's fine. But as soon as that relationship starts pulling you away from being loyal to the things that matter, that's when you know.
Yeah. It's boundaries, which we talked about. I wrote down, boundaries are not unforgiveness. They're recognizing that not everyone can have the same level of access to your heart, your time, your mind, and your future. And I think that's a tough decision to make, but sometimes you just got to make it. And you got to say, no, this is where I'm putting my time in. My relationship with my wife, my children, my work, my relationship with God. And I focus on those things. And if other things are coming in, friends that want you to go do whatever, hey, let's go get a beer. Yeah, okay, maybe one beer, that's fine. But if you feel they're pulling and they're infringing on the boundaries that you've set up, you just got to have that healthy conversation.
Yeah. Veronica and I don't know about you guys, but Veronica and I have become increasingly intentional with where we spend our time. Like, we are very, very intentional about who we spend our time with, where we spend our time. Because otherwise, you can get pulled in 1,000 different directions. Absolutely. And spend your time on things that, from a people standpoint, with people that, they matter, you love them, you care for them, etc. But it's just not where I want to be spending my time.
Yeah.
If they picked up the phone and needed help or needed something, I'd be there for them. But voluntarily, am I going to go spend a weekend with certain people? No.
Yeah. And I think setting your boundaries, you have to realize or remember, you're not doing it out of pride. You're not doing it out of superiority. You're doing it because you realize it's what's best for both relationships, for you and the other person.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, you set a boundary, and then that friend calls you 2 months later. Hey, I'm stuck. I need help. Yes, you help them. You know, it doesn't mean you're like, I'm deleting you out of my phone. I'm blocking the number. I mean, obviously, if it's a severely horrible relationship and they're like always asking for money or whatever the case. Okay,
the ex-girlfriend
that keeps yes. Changing the number.
Showing up at your house at 2 a.m.
Yeah. So we just celebrated or had Father's Day. How can fathers influence the orchard of their homes?
So many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is ultimately the father's role.
Yeah.
The father's role is to be that leader in all aspects.
Faith.
Yeah.
Anger. Just all these different
all
things.
Of them. Yeah. Right. And so how can a father, I think the very first thing a father can do is to have a loving relationship with his wife.
Yep.
That is the most important relationship in the family
Love,
system.
Respect, honor, all of those things.
Service.
Yes.
Sacrifice.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think if a father does nothing but that, those kids will model that.
Yep. Absolutely.
But a father can do a lot of other good things and get that wrong. And the kids will remember that too.
Yep.
I mean, I'd agree. That would be the first. And to me, the second is just be present. Like, just be there.
Yeah.
There's so many that I see, like fathers that, there's too much going on in their life. There's work, and then there's like, oh, after work, I got to go do this. And so they're not hardly ever at home.
Yeah.
I just remember when the kids were little, like, it wasn't like there was always anything exciting going on, but they just liked that I was home. They knew every night I would be home. And it was always funny because I would have to do, every once in a while, I have to do overnights for work. And it'd be like I was going off to war. Like, they would be especially when they were, little, that just grabbing your leg and like, when are you going to be back? And, we're going to miss you. And it was like this big thing. It's like, I'm literally going 2 hours down the road and I'll be home tomorrow, guys. But they were just used to like, okay, that would just, he's here.
Yeah.
And there's a security that comes to that.
Yeah. And I think it's the sacrifices that you make. And this isn't, wow, Chris, you're amazing. But I am just going to say we were at this camp and Asher was in my dorm with me and he's 8 years old. He's not used to sleeping in different places. We're pretty lax anymore as we've gotten so old with the younger kids and they have a mat on the floor. Sometimes they sleep in our bedroom. we never allowed the older kids. They always hold it against us. You guys are so easy. You're like grandparents now. But I'm sleeping in my lower bunk. He's sleeping in the top bunk. And he's just got these tears. It's midnight. And he's like, I just want to go home. Let's just go home. And I'm like, we can't. We can't go home. We're here. He's like, can I sleep with you? Can I get in your bed? These are like little beds.
Yeah, camp beds.
And I knew if he did, I would never sleep.
Yeah.
But I was like, it's fine. Get in here with me. And he immediately falls asleep. And I got a little choked up because I'm like, he needed to feel safe. He didn't. It's just a different environment.
Right.
And that's what
there's
he'll remember.
bears out there. Right?
Yeah, exactly. But that's what he needed in that time. And he needed to feel safe and secure. And I needed to be patient, not angry, not be like, go to sleep, just go to sleep. He fell asleep. I lifted him up, put him in his bunk bed. He woke up, but he was like, I'm okay now. I'll be fine. And so it's those kind of things that we have to think about as fathers, just kind of taking a step back in the relationships that we have and, kind of being patient and loving and kind. And you are so right in the point that your children will see that and how you treat your wife, and they will, in their older age, they will emulate that.
I love that story about Asher, by the way, because we had a similar moment here a couple nights ago where we were out to dinner, and Grayson loves Baskin and Robbins. My 8-year-old loves Baskin and Robbins. Like, that's his treat. And after dinner, like, we were talking about potentially going to Baskin and Robbins, but we were with a bigger group of people and not everyone wanted to go. So we're like, okay, we'll just have dessert here. But Grayson interpreted it as, oh, we're going to Baskin and Robbins afterwards. And so we're like, no, we're not going to go. So you could tell he got all quiet and kind of didn't order desserts and whatever. Got in the car, went home, and I could tell he was super sad. And it was like 9:20, something like that. No business, 8-year-old being out that late. But
Yeah.
I said to Veronica, I was like, hey, listen, I'm just going to take him down the road. Just get him an ice cream, right?
Yeah.
And you could tell immediately, like, his whole demeanor changed. He was super
Sure.
excited, And anyway, the point, I think, on that story is the same as the point in your story. It's a little bit of sacrifice. For us, it's a little sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's a little moment that will have profound impact in their universe.
Yep.
In Asher's world, this was a big deal.
Right.
This was a big deal, right? He will remember that, and he will remember the way you made him feel safe and, comfortable. Same thing for Grayson, right? I don't know if he'll remember that for 5 years, 10 years down the road, but he'll remember, hey, I needed this thing at the time, and my dad did that.
Yep.
So important to look as dads. Got it. So important to look as dads for those opportunities in the little moments that have such a huge impact.
Yeah. And to just, continue to back my answer, in both those situations, y'all were present, right? Like, you took time to go to camp, right? You could have just dropped him off and, deal with the cabin and the bears by yourself.
Yes.
But
you're on your own.
But you were like, no, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to be your counselor. I'm going to be in the bunk underneath you. You weren't all wrapped up in your friends. You were visibly able to say, okay, he's sad and I don't know why.
Yeah, present enough to be aware, right? Or aware enough to be present, whichever way you look at it. But reading the situation for what it was in their shoes.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the key.
I remember as a kid and thought of ice cream, but we lived about, 20 minutes. We lived in a small town, about 20 minutes from the McDonald's. And I remember there'd be times where, my dad, we would have to go into the town to get something, or maybe he was working. I can't remember the situation, but we'd drive by that McDonald's. And it was maybe 1 out of every 100 times. And I know it'd be late in the day and he would just want to get home, but he would pull into that McDonald's and we would get an ice cream cone. And I was 10, 8, 9, 10. And I'll always remember those stories of those times when my dad whipped into that McDonald's and we had an ice cream cone. Yeah. That's whenever the ice cream cones worked at McDonald's.
Did you grow up thinking that your family owned McDonald's?
No, I wish. No, that if we did, we were not living in the right neighborhood and at the right kind of house. But yeah, just those little things.
And it's so easy to miss them.
Yeah.
As a dad, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy to just brush them off. It's like, this is stupid.
Yeah. But I'm 52 years old, and
You remember it.
lost my dad last year, and but I remember that. Like,
Yeah.
we would go in.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a ton of traditions growing up as kids. Although when I think back to it, all of them revolved around food. Like we would always take a trip to my grandparents who lived in Nebraska, and we would always stop about, 20 minutes from our house at a park. And then we would have cookies and chocolate milk. And my dad would bring them from, he worked 30 years at a grocery store. And then we would drive and we would stop in this small town, Chester, where they had this cafe, and we would eat. And then we would stop in this other town where they had a Pizza Hut. So it's kind of funny. But you look back, those are really good memories. Like I remember that. And I think it's really funny to me. My dad, worked at a grocery store for 30 years, never made a ton of money, but I felt rich growing up, because,
You wanted for nothing, right?
yeah. And none of my friends went to Disney World, Florida, and I was going to the Wisconsin Dells and Lake of the Ozarks. I took this crazy trip every year and, all that kind of stuff. So, I felt like I grew up rich, and I didn't, because I was excited to get, I remember my mom cleaned houses for some really wealthy people, and I would get the kid that they had was about a year or two older than me. So they would hand down his old Nikes and stuff. And I got to pick out new shoelaces. That was my big thing. And then I would put those on, and I would run to the grade school across the street and show my sister, look at these yellow and blue with yellow shoestrings. And I thought I was living large. And I never thought I was poor until somebody told me that you might have grown up poor, actually. And I was like, oh well. Yeah. I still felt rich in my eyes. Yeah. So as we close this out, one area that I do want to think about and ask some questions on is, can social media become a form of bad company?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
And it's a complete, it's changed the definition of friends.
Yeah.
I've told my own kids, and I've told other people that you're not, because it's like, oh, how many friends do you have, right? It's like, and you'll be lucky if you have 3, 4, maybe 5 good friends in your life.
Yeah.
And that would be a successful life if you have, that many people who really are your friends, not just some acquaintance or just something like that. So yeah, I feel like it's completely changed what people think about what does it mean to be a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I put these online voices can shape our attitudes from anger, fear, envy, distracting, lustful, prideful, discontent. That's why I got off social media. I found myself looking at things that I'm like, why am I even looking at this? Yeah. Like, I'm just scrolling through cat pictures for 45 minutes.
Well, and to your point, similar, like, grew up, we lived in this little trailer. I never knew, right? I never had mom and dad, had my siblings, we had food. Everything was fine. But I can't imagine like being a kid growing up now where if you look at social media, like to me, it's like, man, I need to step up my game traveling. I'm poor. Now, right? If you look at social media, how everybody portrays their lives. So I couldn't even imagine being a young person right now trying to, seeing all this stuff, comparing, and just, you would have to just feel bad about yourself.
Yeah. Overwhelmed. Yeah.
It's like, I don't match up to this.
So it's the same thing with us as adults. It's like, man, these people are going on. I do it. I'm
right. Yeah. Look at, yeah.
I feel like I'm doing well in life, and I'm like, man, they're going on vacations. They went to Italy. They went to the Bahamas. They go here. They got a boat. They got all this stuff. And I'm like, what am I doing? And then Victoria and I will talk, and they're like, I don't think they have 6 kids like you do,
right.
and just different
they're
things.
On their 3rd marriage,
could be, yeah.
Or, whatever it is. And
yeah.
$300,000 credit card debt.
Yeah.
That's precisely the problem with social media, right? Is you see what they want you
myopic.
to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only the sliver of themselves that they want you to see.
Yep.
That's not a real relationship. A real relationship, again, going back to vulnerability, you see the person, right? The person as a whole.
Yeah.
You understand the person, they understand you, and you still willingly accept that relationship.
Yep.
Copacetically.
Yeah.
That's a true relationship.
Yep.
Everybody sees each other through a filter now, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone uses filters.
Yeah.
So it's you're not even seeing the real person.
Right.
Yeah, you're not.
So you don't just stumble onto fruitful relationships. You have to plant, you have to prune, you have to water, and you have to protect it. So as we close this out, as adults, how do you find healthy friendships as an adult? Which,
put yourself in healthy communities.
yes,
Yeah.
I agree. Which I think goes back to even talking to our children as they get older, helping them understand how do you find healthy friendships that you can grow in. Like, what are the things that you look for?
Well, it depends. You can be looking for friends in different areas, like
Arenas,
you've already
yeah.
said, right? So, for example, if you're looking to maybe get healthier, right, go and join a gym, right? And if that's what's important to you, and if you're looking for someone who can be an accountability partner and getting healthy and getting fit and bulking up, whatever it is, that's a good place to find someone who will share those values.
Yeah.
Right? If you're looking for someone who's going to be a good spiritual thought partner, go to church. If you're looking for someone who's going to be a good drinking buddy, go to the bar, right? I mean, that's the thing, right? The old adage is you're never going to find a wife at a bar, although someone did.
Yes.
Someone, yeah.
But I mean, and that's so happy for you in that case, right? But that's I think the general way to look at it, right? Is the kind of people that you find in those communities are typically reflections of the communities
Yes.
themselves.
Yeah.
And I do like to clarify, and I know you're just making a little
Jesting.
joke, but jesting. Because there are individuals that, when we think about listening to this, there's a difference in, and I think it's a unique situation for me.
Yeah,
of
very much so.
Victoria working,
Yeah.
and I'm not drinking. I'm just out. I'm lonely. I wasn't even really looking for a relationship. But yes, I mean, that's normally not the ideal situation to find a mate, but random, rare things can happen when I think God is involved.
Yeah.
But the exception, right?
Yes.
For sure, the exception.
Absolutely.
Right?
Definitely the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
So I think it takes intentionality to find those right relationships, whether it's church or service, as you mentioned, some type of shared mission, like even, small groups, but where you can have meaningful conversations, because I think healthy friendships are just rarely happen by accident.
I mean, going back again, what fruit do you want in
Yeah.
your life?
Go to the orchard.
Right. Go
Yeah.
and get people in your life that have those fruits or want those fruits, and you go on that journey.
So thinking about young people then, how do you pursue mentors without making it awkward? Because mentoring requires some type of friendship of some sort. But how do you do that?
So I think mentors have got different levels, right? I mean,
Yeah.
a mentor can just be someone who's marginally better than you at a particular thing, or marginally more knowledgeable, that you can, hey, I want to attach myself to this person to learn
Right.
from this individual, right? And so, I mean, even in a sports team, right? You could be a young person, you could have joined a soccer club, and hey, that's the kid who's great, right? I'm going to become friends with him so I can train with him, so we can kind of sharpen each other. That's different than saying, oh, I want Messi to be my mentor to teach me how to be the ultimate soccer player, right? And so I think when as a young person, the encouragement I would give, the advice I would give is think smaller, right? From a mentorship program, right? You don't have to go and find the absolute best, soccer player in the state and ask him to mentor you, right? Just think smaller, right? Think in your community, hey, how do you just get marginally better? And then from there, marginally better. And then from there, marginally better.
Yeah. Ask good questions, invite wisdom, kind of watch their life.
And I think just ask, because again, you don't have to go outside of your community to find people who will help you, but just be like, hey, you appear to be successful, right? You have a good job, or you seem to have a good marriage, or you seem to be a good dad, or whatever it is that you're trying to hone in on. And hey, can I just ask you some questions about, like, how'd you get there?
Yeah.
I mean, it just, you got to ask, right? That's sales 101. Like, you're never going to get the signature if you don't ask for it. So, and I think most people are very willing to share and to help when they can. But just ask.
So the last question I'll ask you guys is, how do you know if you are an unhealthy influence?
You have no friends. No one wants to hang out with you.
Yeah. I think it's the fruit.
Except the bad guy. Except the guy who's always in trouble.
Or the only ones who want to hang out with you are the ones that no one else wants to hang out with.
Yeah. Or are you consistently bringing criticism, gossip, anger, pressure, you know, just looking at those things? I mean, it's all basically, that's why I love the word Karpos and what we've put together here, because it's all about the fruit. It can be, as we started in the very first episode, it can be negative or it can be positive. Fruit that is produced that when water hits it produces acid on your body, or fruit that's tasty and healthy and all of that.
And even stages of life, right? I mean, it's like we talked about earlier, you know, this, you know, I believe all this it's a lifelong journey. Like none of this happens overnight. That's kind of another, I mean, we've talked about this before with like our kids, of trying to like get them to understand that like mom and dad didn't always have this. We didn't always live this life. Like there was work that went into this. And so just understanding that this is a lifelong journey, and some years you're going to have an abundant crop of fruit. And then some years it's like you're not going to get any.
Yeah.
Because it was a drought, because you weren't doing the things you were supposed to. But then you can learn from that, you know, and hopefully you have people in your life that are like, hey, you need to water more, right? You went on vacation all year and you didn't take care of the tree. So they're just a journey, right? It's a lifelong journey. Good years, bad years, hopefully more good than bad, but just have the people in your life that will, you know, remind you of where you're trying to be.
Anything else to add?
No, great conversation. So important.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road, right? From a community standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, from a career standpoint. I mean, it all comes down to the people you surround yourself with.
Yep.
Good or bad.
Yeah.
So I think as we close this out, kind of that final encouragement is to just take a serious look at the orchard, at your orchard, and who's watering your roots, who's sharpening your character, and do you need to make some tough decisions? Because the fruit you're producing today is deeply influenced by the orchard you choose today and who you surround yourself with. So appreciate you guys being here.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciated Matthew and Stephen being a part of this conversation. We're looking forward to many more episodes. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and if you have questions, you can submit them at info@karposlifepodcast.com. We'll see you next month.